Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to another episode of the GG Report. I'm glad you're tuned in. We're excited to come back to you today. Now, Kenyans are witnessing an unusual volatility in the energy sector, with fuel prices having risen to some significantly high level at the moment, and that has created and generated a conversation. Some are blaming it on the national leadership, others are blaming it on a failure of economic policy, and many other explanations. And so today we're going to try and address ourselves, particularly we're going to focus on the leadership in these uncertain times. And so welcome to the GG Report. I have a guest today, Mr. Philip Mongale. Karibu sana.
Asante sana. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good to have you here. All right, so as you all know, the GG Report is a platform where we discuss big, bold ideas, and we have honest conversations. And so today we're going to be as honest as we can. We're going to try and explore the matters of leadership in these crisis times, and my guest is here to help me with that. Now, I will begin by introducing my guest very briefly, then we're going to ask him to give us a little bit of his background, and then we get on to the other subjects. So my guest is Mr. Philip Mongale. Mongale is a leadership and governance consultant. He's a lawyer, and he's the managing partner for Advocate Global. I guess that's a firm of advocates, yes. And also Gibor Global Consultants. You will tell us more about that, about your consultancy thing. But I'm happy that you play in the field of governance and leadership, yes. And we can then have this conversation. Mm-hmm. So, Bwana Mongale.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Let's begin with your background.
Mm-hmm.
I see you are in the legal profession. So what inspired you to go into the legal profession? And maybe you can also tell us how it all began.
Yes, as you mentioned, my name is Philip Mongale. I am born again first. Christ is Lord and Savior. And I must underscore Lord because I am continually led by Christ, even in the things that I do, including in the profession.
Yes.
What inspired me to do law? For a very long time, I have been inspired by order and justice.
Okay.
And law was it was, as a matter of course, something that I thought I should do, mm-hmm. Because it is a great avenue to make sure that there is order in society and to make sure that we have a just society.
Okay.
So from the time I got into high school, that was my pursuit,
okay.
Order and justice.
Okay.
And my life purpose is to establish order out of chaos.
Okay.
And so law was the thing that would lead me to do that.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Along the way, I also discovered that in pursuit of my life purpose, mm-hmm. Leadership and governance is at the core of that.
Okay.
And so aside from being a lawyer by training, I am also a leadership and governance consultant, and that involves helping people and organizations, businesses and companies think strategically around the things they do.
Okay.
Helping them chart a purposeful course, because it is not just enough to exist. You must be working towards something.
Oh, yeah.
So I work with individuals and organizations to make sure that they are living purpose and living lives of purpose.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. And of course you're obviously in the younger generation, mm-hmm. of up and coming leaders of this country, and I'm very happy to have you here because your generation, maybe I could consider myself in a different generation. I'm happy that there are people like you that really want to engage matters and play, especially in that space of leadership and governance.
Yes.
Because I clearly think that there is something missing, because what I see is people always complaining and asking questions and puzzling over matters, and not many people are willing to engage matters very seriously. Okay, so tell us, what are you, in terms of your academic background? I think you're doing a master's.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us, what are you studying in your master's?
I decided to, because of my purpose, I decided to enlarge my capacity and improve my capacity towards leadership and governance, and so I'm doing a Master's of Arts in Leadership at Park University.
Okay.
That is something I have decided to do to improve my capacity in the area of leadership.
Okay.
That, in addition to other small trainings and courses that I have designed myself and purpose to do to improve myself. And
Okay.
it is important to keep building our capacity around the areas that God has called us into. So that, in addition to also improving and increasing my capacity in the area of law.
Yeah.
And we are constantly developing and growing.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true. Actually, that's very important to develop ourselves so that then we can understand matters and become better at articulating issues and perhaps understanding how leadership develops.
Yes.
And become better leaders. Of course, the more trained you are,
Yes.
the better. Okay, so you've worked for a number of organizations. I think we had a conversation off the set.
Yes.
Where you told me you worked for Focus, for example. I think after after campus, and or it was within the campus scenario. Tell us a little bit about your working with the Focus and Kenya Christian Professional Forum, where you did some bit of work there.
Yes.
Yes.
Focus was within campus.
Okay.
I was privileged to serve in leadership positions within campus,
Okay.
the Christian Union setup.
Yes.
And so after serving as the chairperson of the Christian Union in the campus I was in,
Yes.
the Lord allowed me to also serve at the regional level. Focus is a fellowship of Christian unions
Yes.
that brings together Christian unions in universities and institutions of higher learning. So after serving as the chairperson of the Christian Union in my campus, I served at the regional level and also at the national level.
Okay.
Within Focus.
Okay.
So that was a good opportunity for me to learn, what really leadership is,
Okay.
because you might be confined in a small environment that does not let you explore, opportunities to exert that leadership.
Okay.
And after that, I also did some work. It was an internship at Kenya Christian Professionals Forum.
Okay.
It is a body that brings together professionals
Okay.
to engage in matters of leadership, of governance, matters that are core, to the Christian and to the issues that are surrounding us. So Kenya Christian Professionals Forum is it's a very wonderful way for professionals, Christian professionals, to engage.
Okay.
In governance, in matters of life, in matters of family,
Yeah.
in matters of media, and it's something that I will encourage professionals out there to really plug in.
Okay.
Yes, so that and I've also worked in some other corporate areas that are not entirely Christian.
Okay.
But I was also exerting myself as a Christian in those in those places.
I was actually going to ask you.
Yes.
I mean, in the I would consider it a short time. I think you've been in the professional space for 5 years. Like I think I noticed from your profile.
Yes.
What challenges have you experienced? I mean, you've exposed yourself. Being a lawyer, you tell me that you go to court.
Yes.
You represent your clients, whether it's in court or you're doing paperwork or something like that, or serving them without necessarily having to go to court. So far, what challenges have you experienced? Trying to play in that field, professional field, legal field, as a Christian.
One of the major challenges, aside from the ordinary challenges that are not unique to any Christian, that of working our own salvation.
Yes.
One of the major challenges I've experienced is standing for Christ in places where that is really needed.
Yes.
And in the society that we live in, it is very important for us to come out and give reasons for what we believe in.
Okay.
And in my profession, especially, that is very critical.
Okay.
Because there is a great temptation for compromise.
Okay.
Because the way things have been structured over time, you find that the systems do not really support justice.
Okay.
So as a Christian, you find yourself in a position where you have to go against the system most of the time.
Okay.
You have to go against the structures that have been put in place for decades.
Yes.
And so that involves sometimes sacrificing money. Sometimes that involves, giving away clients that want to play a different tune from what you are doing.
Yes.
So there's a lot of sacrifice.
Okay.
And if you are not ready to bear the cost, if you are not ready to, give that sacrifice, then you will be drawn by the current. And I would liken it to swimming in waters that are infested by sharks.
Okay.
And you are required to go against the current.
Okay.
It's not just enough to to swim in those waters, but you are also exerting your energies to go against the current.
That's true.
That is the greatest challenge.
Okay.
And that also coupled with the fact that you're in a space where you have other Christians, and it will be assumed that other Christians would encourage you forward in the way that you should go, but there's a lot of compromise even in some Christians in such spaces.
Okay.
And so you find yourself trying to balance between charting your own course,
yes,
and also rebuking, encouraging your brothers and sisters to go the straight and narrow path.
Absolutely.
Yes. But the Lord has been faithful.
That's good. And then also being a role model and modeling it out for others, so that then you can have an impact. Wow, that's well said. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you follow this conversation, I want you to know that sometimes leadership requires sacrifices. Leadership requires that you chart your own path. Sometimes you may have to stand on your own against the current. And so that's very, very important. So we are debating the issue of leadership in crisis. We're looking at some of the underlying issues that influence leadership, especially in times of crisis. And we have a crisis in our economic system right now at the moment. And I'm going to be asking Bwana Mongale to comment. Kenyans are facing very uncertain economic times. I think the COVID-19, which now is COVID-21, we started, it was labeled 19 because it actually showed up December 2019. And then, of course, it's exploded in 2020. And now we are in 2021, almost a year plus.
Yes.
We've been dealing with this pandemic, and then of course that also has had very huge implications in terms of the economics. We had to the economy had to be shut down for some time, and people have lost jobs.
Yes.
And here now we have another crisis, a crisis in the energy sector with the rising fuel prices.
Yes.
So what do you think is behind these developments? So that's really the big question I want us to address ourselves to. What do you think is behind these developments?
First, governments across the world have been, charting new courses, especially since 2020, because this was a new thing, and you had leaders across the world innovating, coming up with the new ideas that would cushion their citizens. Okay, and it has been a tough time.
Yes.
But I thank God that for a country like ours, we have managed to navigate through, and right now we are not at a very bad place compared to 2020, even though times are tough. Okay. Now, when it comes to the fuel prices, there are two things that have contributed to this hike. Okay. First, we have the global prices. I remember in 2020, there was a time when the price of oil went drastically down. All right. Because when the economies were shutting down, there was less demand. Okay. And then that meant that, those who are producing could only sell the oil at very reduced prices.
Okay.
I think there was a point where the price of a barrel was about $30 or so.
Okay.
And that translated to a liter is very little.
Okay.
So coming from that state
Okay.
to right now, when the governments are now opening up, the economies are now opening up,
Okay.
the demand has risen.
Okay.
So when the demand rises, definitely, the prices will go up. The supply would increase.
Yeah, simple economics. So there is the demand element.
Yes.
And you're showing how it has shifted.
Yes, exactly. That is one, which was bound to shake up things a little bit in this year.
Okay.
Number two, there are some issues regarding geopolitics that have also contributed to these fluctuations in oil prices.
Okay.
In Yemen has been very unstable for a very long time.
Okay.
And we've had rebels. They are called the Houthi rebels.
Okay.
In Yemen.
Okay.
They have been attacking the oil facilities in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is a large producer of oil.
Yes.
And their production dictates oil prices most of the time.
Okay.
So those attacks have contributed to the volatility
Okay.
in oil prices. And they're bound to continue.
Okay.
So we are likely to see a spike or a fluctuation in oil prices. So globally, those are the two things that have contributed to the spike.
Okay.
But coming to our local circumstances, where now the price globally does not really match, the pump prices.
Yes, obviously.
In our country.
Yes.
I would point it to three things. One, when that fuel is imported, there is something called the landing cost, what is paid by the importer. Okay. So that by the time the oil reaches our port, it is bought at a certain amount.
Okay.
And per liter, we about at petrol is at about 49 shillings or so. Landing prices.
Okay.
But by the time that fuel gets to your pump, there are certain markups. So the importer has made their profit. The distributors are also making their profit.
Yes.
And that has something to do with transportation costs and whatnot.
Okay.
But in addition to that, you also have government taxes.
Yes.
There are specific levies that the government places on the oil.
Yes.
And that is very huge.
Yes.
In our case, the least that the government gets from petrol, for example, is about 53 shillings.
Okay.
So if you consider a landing cost of 49 shillings or 46 shillings, adding about 12 or so shillings, up to about 15 shillings for the markups, in terms of business economics, and then adding the 53 shillings that is earned by government, it gets you to where we are right now.
All right.
So what has led to a spike in our circumstances is the government taxes on the petroleum imports.
Okay. And while we are on the taxes bit, because a kind of, we'll come to some of the comments that are flying around.
Yes.
While we are on taxes, we remember last year there was, I don't know what you think about this. Last year, the government, due to COVID, there was a kind of a moratorium. The government actually did reduce taxes, knock off. The VAT was knocked from 16 to 14. I think corporate tax was knocked from 30 to 25.
Yes.
We are talking about percentages. And all that. So there was a kind of like a cushioning that was instituted when the government said that it wanted to take action. And but then that was reversed, I think, sometime in February.
Yes.
Was it February? I think it was
early this year.
Early this year. So it was instituted, and even pay as you earn, which had also been reduced. People are now paying higher. People are earning less in terms of salary. If your salary hasn't been increased at all, and it's been constant since 2020, some part of 2020, people were earning slightly more. And now 2021, and it goes down, and then fuel prices goes up.
Yes.
What do you think? Is that the source of discomfort and confusion?
Well, I think even in the circumstances we were in pre-2020, these hikes will still have caused the ripples that it's causing.
Yeah.
But it's true. What you say is very true, that there was a shock, after being cushioned for a while, and then that cushion is removed immediately.
Yes,
that shock will definitely be felt.
Okay.
And in my view, I do not think that it was wise for the government to remove the cushions immediately.
Yes.
There should have been gradual increases.
Okay.
Because when you are coming out of such tough economic times as 2020 was,
yes,
you need, as a government, to provide that kind of cushioning for your citizens.
Okay.
But we are in a state where the government is balancing between the interests of the citizen and the interests of international monetary institutions, because we are trying to meet some conditions that have been set for us by the IMF, by the World Bank, and some of those people we owe.
Yes.
Because we have to restructure our loans, we have to renegotiate payments.
Yes.
And to do that, we must demonstrate that we have ways of raising revenue. So there's that balance.
Okay.
And unfortunately, when the government is trying to strike that balance, it is the citizen who is suffering.
Okay.
And now the oil prices are going to contribute to, even tougher times, because the oil prices have a trickle-down effect to the price of goods.
Yeah,
I was just looking at the consumer price index for last month.
Yeah. And
the rate of inflation has been steadily rising for the last several months.
Okay.
And it goes to show that by the time we get to June, when we'll now be looking at the budget for 2021, 2022, things will be tougher.
Okay.
So we should brace ourselves for tough economic times, because I foresee a situation where inflation will rise to about 6.1 in this month, 6 point something in the month of April, and so on. Okay. So those are the times that we are living in. The government should have done more, but unfortunately we are not seeing that from their end.
Okay. So we have identified a number of variables. There is the crude oil prices.
Yes.
The geopolitical issues,
yes.
the volatilities, for example, in the Middle East, the Yemen issues and others that would influence the volatility of the pricing. And then there is the issue of the domestic here. In the domestic arena, you've said there are three issues. Yes. One of them is the tax, the tax bait. Yes. The other one is the policy issues, plus some of the other multilateral conditions, conditionalities that are arising because we still have to service our debts, our economy has to keep functioning. Is there something else that could be behind the crisis that we're seeing in terms of in this particular sector?
If I may just touch on policy, because policy is a huge part of it. In 2008, when Kiraitu Murungi was Minister for Energy at that time, he gazetted regulations. They were called the Energy Reserve Stock Regulations. Okay. And in those regulations, the government, through the then National Oil Corporation, was supposed to purchase oil to cover about 3 months' supply. That was the reserve stock that the government was looking at. It was then approved by Parliament. Okay. After that, we have not had a deliberate effort by government to handle reserves. That's the way we have strategic reserves, food reserves. Yes. To cushion the country in case of famine, for example, or when we have low production.
Actually, we have strategic reserves in terms of food. Now you're saying strategic reserves in terms of fuel, and there are also strategic reserves in terms of foreign currency. Yes. For example, I know that central bank normally has what they call month cover, like about 5 months cover of hard currency, US dollars, pounds and whatever other hard currencies are needed, that should we stop receiving hard currencies in our economy, we can survive for 5 months.
Yes, yes.
So you're saying there was a similar policy regulation on the oil sector as well?
Yes, and I would blame the breakdown of that policy on the arms of government, and in this case, Parliament. Yes. Because Parliament is supposed to oversight, Parliament is supposed to provide those checks. Okay. But we have a case where where, and this is the unfortunate reality that we are in, that most of our parliamentarians are up and about doing politics every day, every weekend.
Okay.
And the real issues of legislation and oversight are not carried out.
Okay.
Because we have parliamentary committees.
Yes.
We have a parliamentary committee on energy.
Okay.
Just the other day, I saw the chairman of the committee saying they were going to summon the cabinet secretary.
Okay.
After the fact, after we have already had this.
After the prices have gone up, now we're going to summon.
Yes, and this knee-jerk reactions do not really help.
Okay.
Because if we would have maintained that strategic stock reserve of oil,
yes,
then we would be looking at a situation where there would be a spike in oil prices.
Yes.
But because we would have bought the oil at lower prices, say for example in 2020 when the prices were so low,
yes,
we bought reserves for several months.
Okay.
Then we would be at a place where the prices are going up, yes, but we are not really feeling the shocks because we have something in store.
Yeah, we can delay the pay.
Yes.
And we can cushion mwananchi.
Yes.
In terms of, and it doesn't become a crisis that now you have to buy now.
Yes.
And you have to buy at the asking prices. Wow, what amazing, amazing. So those of you that are following this conversation, you realize there is quite a lot of things that are behind some of these crises you see in the energy sector. Perhaps the energy sector is more significant because it actually influences other sectors. For example, if fuel prices go up, diesel and petrol and other things, then that has a trickle-down effect and ripple effect, which then affect the other sectors, transport, food production, manufacturing, and all that. Okay, so we're going to take a break for now, and when we come back, we're going to look at some of the reactions we've seen in the public, some of the people that are reacting to this, and I'm going to read for you some of the reactions, and then we'll ask Mr. Mongale to comment on them, and then we take the conversation forward. So stay tuned, don't go away. We go for a break, we'll come back shortly.